I find that so many project management systems are just too much, with all their bells and whistles when you're just trying to get started solving a problem right now. The purpose of this video is to teach you how to start using ClickUp right now as a virtual teacher's assistant to help you plan and organize your lesson plans. Hi, my name is Dr. Monica Reshavi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm a former high school teacher, college professor, and higher ed administrator. I now run operations for an online education startup. In this video, I'll teach you how to get started in a simple and practical way by walking you step by step in building an easy to use but powerful lesson planning system that will grow with you in ClickUp. The first thing we're going to do is create our lesson plans space in ClickUp. So you're seeing my demonstration ClickUp workspace, and you'll notice that there's an add space link in the sidebar. So just go ahead and click add space, and then I'm going to call this lesson plans. Now, as we're going through the process of setting up this space, I want to point out that you can change all of these settings later. So right now I'll do some basic adjustments, but you can always change them later. So since it's lesson plans, I'm going to search for an apple, and I'll use the apple as the emoji or the avatar here. And let's go ahead and make it red. Next. This is just going to be in my ClickUp demo space. I don't share it with anyone else, so I don't have concerns about making it private. If you wanted to make a new space within a ClickUp workspace you're sharing with someone, but you don't want them to see it, then you'd want to pick private. Next. As far as statuses, I'm not really concerned about statuses right now, even though statuses are super important in ClickUp because I'm going to come back to them, so I'm simply going to click next. In terms of what I want to be able to do, and this is often referred to as which click apps do you have on a space or a list, I'm not concerned about time tracking. I do want custom fields. Again, I don't want multiple assignees because I don't have anyone else in this space. I definitely want tags, and I'll keep priority. I can turn these off. Notice there are more that you can pick too if you do show more. I'll just go to next. I always like to turn off the board. Now, the reason I say this is because otherwise when you turn this on, it will force you to have a board view even if you don't use it. So I turn it off because sometimes I use it and sometimes I don't. The list is a required view, so that just stays the same. Review space, everything looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and create the space. And you'll notice despite when I go through the process of setting up a space and it asks me about statuses, it asks me about statuses again when I get to this default list that was created inside of lesson plans. That's why I often skip that particular step when I create the space, just because I know I'm gonna have to change things. So I'm gonna choose start from scratch on my statuses because this isn't something that I'm worried about right now. So we've created a new space, it's called lesson plans, and we have one default list inside of here. So what I propose to do, if this is the first time you're using ClickUp or you're new to it, and we're doing this for lesson plans, so we want to be able to organize them easily, that what we're going to do is think about how we want to organize them. Now, all of this can evolve later, but in terms of the simplest way to get started, I would recommend that you at least start by creating one folder. So I'm going to hover on top of the lesson plan space, click the plus icon, and I'm going to choose a folder. And as far as my container, so if I'm thinking about this in lesson planning terms, I'm often thinking about, well, am I teaching topics that I'm going to organize by topic? Am I teaching in terms of time? So week 1, week 2, month 1, month 2, etc. In this case, I'm thinking about it in terms of years. So I'm just going to put 2022, 2023. So if this was the academic year that I was creating lesson plans for, this would be the folder. I'm going to create my folder. And then notice when you create a folder, by default, you have another list that's put into it. So you may end up using this, you might not. Again, I'm just going to choose start from scratch. Now, this other list that was already in my lesson plan space, you can take that and move it inside of the folder. Now notice when I did that, it looks like nothing happened. The easiest way I find, if something happens like that in ClickUp, you can do one of two things. You can do Command R, which will refresh your ClickUp window. Oftentimes that moves things the way you want because you moved it, but it didn't happen. And when you refresh it, you find it has been moved. If it didn't work like this, just go to the 3-dot menu and you can choose to move. And then I'm going to click that I want it to go into that folder and move it. And right now it doesn't like it because they're both called list. So the easiest way to fix that is to just call it something else. So like list 2, and that might be why it didn't work earlier actually. No. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and move. So I clicked the 3-dot menu, move, and I'm going to go ahead and move this to 2023. Let's see. Since it's not finding it, oh, we're already moved, so it's good. So 2022, 2023. Okay, so we have two lists right now and they're inside of this folder. If you click the folder, you can change the color. So if you'd like to give it a color, you can do that. You can also click to expand to hide what's inside. So now we have a folder within a space, and we're going to start off by creating a list for each one of our classes. And I'm going to do 2 for the purposes of this demo. So I'm going to rename list 2. So I'll just click this 3-dot menu, and you can rename either list, it doesn't matter which one, to be called class 1. And this little circle that's next to it, it's the list color. And I like to set colors for different things. You can always add more. Other videos, I'll get into what it means to actually have location colors. But for right now, I'm just going to create a few more colors because I like to have options for my lists. So I'll go here and pick a blue color for class 1 and a green color for class 2. And for this one, I'm going to rename it so that it's class 2. Okay. So in this first part of the video, we've done a couple of things. We've made a new lesson plan space. Inside of that space, we made ourselves a folder, 2022, 2023. The idea behind this is that any classes that I would be teaching during this academic year, I would put them inside of this folder. And it's just nice because I can go ahead and hide that easily and not have it cluttering up my sidebar if I'm no longer in that academic year. So in the next part of the video, we're going to talk about how we can use a lesson plan template that is a task template I created for you, and you can download it for free and you can use it if you'd like. So in the next part of this video, I want to show you that I've created a template for you that you could use. I mentioned this earlier. It's free. The link will be in the show notes below. And when you click that link to the template, it's going to take you to something that looks like this. It is a template of a task that can help you create lesson plans. And you'll see me demonstrate that in a moment. But if you don't want to make the template from scratch, and I won't be walking through how to make the template in this video, though I will in a future video, you can simply duplicate the template to your workspace. So when you click the link, again, it's in the show notes below this video, you'll be brought to the website and you'll be able to pick what list in ClickUp you want this to go on. Now I'm logged into ClickUp right now, so it's showing me my spaces. When you're logged into ClickUp, you would be able to see what your options are. And then you notice that it says use a template. So you're picking your workspace, you're picking this list. Also save a copy of this template to my workspace. So as opposed to simply having this task show up on a list in your workspace, what you want to do is make sure to save a copy of the template, because that makes it so that you can reuse it again and again. So that's just a quick tip to get us started with this part of the video so that you can see how to move forward with using the template. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to ClickUp. And when we're taking a look inside of our ClickUp space, so I already have this template established and I'm going to be using it inside of my ClickUp space. So again, we created our class lists, and now I would like to put on top of or in one of my class lists a lesson plan. Now I could just start from scratch, and that's very simple to do. But one of the things I like about templates is it helps make sure that I have a consistent template, parts of a template in every lesson plan. So here's how you do it. I have the list, I'm on class 1, and I want to create a task. And I know sometimes it might seem strange to think about calling a lesson plan a task, but at least for me, when I was creating my lesson plans, it was a task to do. It was something I needed to check off as being started or in progress or done, etc. So what I would do is I'd click the task button in the lower right-hand corner, and you'll see this option that looks like a little magic wand. And if you hover on it, it says templates. And when I click that, I can do a couple of different things here. Now, this is the lesson plan template I'm going to use, but I want to show you because it won't be in your recent templates when you first use it. You'll have to do load from template because you won't have used it yet. So if I do load from template, I'll see this template come up. And when I click it, I can choose to use the template. So I'll do that, use template, and notice it fills in all of the information I have. So there's a table of contents up at the top. It takes me to all of the different areas of the template really quickly. Now, before you click create task, there's 2 things you want to make sure to do. First, make sure it's the correct list where this task is going to show up. So I'm going to pick class 1 here. And instead of having it just be called the template name, I'm going to call this maybe something like, it's on the class 1 list, let's say class 1 introduction syllabus review. You can call it whatever you'd like. And then at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and choose create task. So you'll see this show up. Now, when I click on it, I can go into the task itself and see all of the different sections of this. And I would just replace these different sections and say replace with, etc., with that particular information. I can also attach resources to this if I'd like. There's many other things that you can do, but I wanted to get started in a video for you that would just be very basic and show you how you could add this lesson plan template. So a couple of other things. You have all of the different areas to fill in. And then at the bottom, you'll see again, attachments and checklists. You can also add comments to yourself if you would like to reference different types of information, etc. So I'm going to close this out. Now, something else that I would do, and this is the last piece that it's a little bit more complicated, but once you do it the first time, you'll get the hang of it. Because the template included a field called class, you now have access to use that field too. So all you have to do is click this little plus. And if you do use field from library, notice there is a drop-down field and a date field, and that's because I made those fields in this template. So if I click drop-down, I'll see there is a class one, and I'm going to choose use this field. And now notice once it loads, I have choices with some classes that you can apply. And this is going to become critical in future videos when you learn about things related to automations. So we have class one. I'm going to go ahead and just set this as class one. And any information you wanted to add, you could go ahead and do that. The last field I'm going to add is also another field from the library, and this is a date field. And I created one that I just called date teaching because I like having which date do I plan on teaching this. So for example, if I was going to teach it next week. The other field I'm adding is not a field from the template, it's just a field that is standard in ClickUp, and it's called the created date. So if I go to show hide and I just scroll down, I'll see date created. So now I'll have fields for when it was created, when I'm teaching it, the class itself, and you might think, well, this is a little redundant. Why do I have the class on here? It's going to become useful later when you want to do different kinds of views and sorting and filtering. If you wanted to keep due date, you could, like I need to have this particular class lesson plan done by this date. And you could also set a priority. I don't feel I need a priority right now, so I'm going to go ahead and hide it. So now I have this class list set up, class one, and a lesson plan. Let's go ahead and do this for class two. So super simple, I'll go to class two. I'm going to go to my task, pick my template again. I'm going to use it from recent this time, and you would have it too once you use it the first time. This one I'm also going to rename. So I'll call this class one. Actually, maybe I'll call this class two, prep for outline of major topics. Again, I would fill in whatever information I needed here and make sure you've changed the location, and then it'll be on class two, and create my task. Now, I'll show you how you'll add the columns one more time, but then we'll look at making a class three, and this will go even faster. So again, I'll go to the plus sign, use field from library, drop down. I'm going to use that class field. I'm also going to use the field of the date, which was my date teaching. And finally, I'm going to go ahead and add that created date because I like to see when I created it. So date created. Okay. And I think I closed it out too quickly, although it's saving. So we'll see if it applies. Yep, date created. And I'm going to put class two for this one. So I could go through and continue making lists like this. I could add my different lesson plans just like I did. Alternatively, you could also set yourself up a template that would make it easy for you to easily create a class that has all the columns you want, and it also has a default task on it with a lesson plan. So I'll show you how to do that in the last part of this video. Have you tried using ClickUp to organize your lesson plans? Let me know in the comments what's working or not working for you. So we've walked through several different things in this video already. You can create your lesson plan space. You have a folder, the 2022-2023, that you're going to keep your class lists inside. We've talked about how you can use that template that I've shared with you. And as a reminder, the link to that template is in the show notes below to create this lesson plan task that has detailed information already filled in for you to just update with your lesson plan information. And then I mentioned that it's possible to create a template so that you don't have to keep adding these columns every time you make a new class. I think that'd be nice, right? So let's do that. So right now I have class one and class two. They're the same with the exception of the fact that we have a different class label associated with it. So in ClickUp, almost anything can be turned into a template. So if you go to class 2 and you click on the 3-dot menu next to it, you'll see some choices, and near the bottom, you'll go to templates. From templates, choose save as template. And I'm going to call this class template. And sometimes I try to think about, is there anything else on this that I want to remember that's on here? I'll say class template with label and sample lesson plan task, because this task, I'm going to set it, or this template is going to actually have one task already on it, that default lesson plan template. And if you wanted to, you could also add a description. So if you wanted to keep this short, you could potentially cut that part out, call it class template, and say includes label field, because that's that label of the class, and a sample lesson plan task. Again, you can choose permissions here. I don't have anyone else in my space, so I'm not concerned about it. And then public sharing. I will go ahead and public share this one too, because I'll include the link to this too as well below the show notes. So if you don't want to make your own template, you could just grab mine. So I'll turn this on. Import everything. Now, this is important because I want to import everything as opposed to just saying certain things. I want that one task to go there, so I'm going to choose import everything. And then I'll go ahead and click save. So it's making my template. Now, you can find all your templates by just going in the left-hand corner and clicking on your profile image and going to Template Center. And I have a couple different ones. And notice I have like a picture here on this one, and that's because I set a picture for it. You could also do that on yours if you'd like. But that template that I just created is here in the Template Center, the class template. So let's go ahead and, for the final part of this video, make another class and then see what it looks like to see all of this at once. So if I wanted to make another class now in this folder, or just within the actual lesson plans area, you could do this a couple ways. If you want to make it in the folder, the easiest way now from a template is to just click on the plus next to the folder and choose from template. And I'm going to choose my class template and just click use template. And here I'm going to call this class 3. Notice it's going into the lesson plans. I could choose at this point to just import specific parts of the template if I didn't want that task, but I want everything. So I'm going to do use template. It'll take a moment for the list to be created. And then as it refreshes, you'll see class 3 show up. Now notice it's even green, just like the other one was. You could go ahead and change your color here. And now I have class 1, class 2, class 3. These all look virtually the same. Notice I do need to update this tag field to class 3. So I could have alternatively chosen to not include that class field in the template, and then I wouldn't have it. But I like that it's easy and here to use, so that's why I include it. I also have this class 2. Note, it's called the same thing. So you'd probably want to, for example, update this with the appropriate lesson class name. Okay, so we have 3 class lists now. All 3 of them look identical in terms of the columns, which I love for consistency. It makes it really easy for planning. We have a sample lesson plan task here. Now, what if we wanted to see everything we have going on that's due right now? So I'm going to make a couple of changes to make this a little bit more interesting. So in class 1, I'm going to give it a due date of Tuesday for this lesson plan. For class 2, let's give it a due date of in November. And class 3, I'll push the due date out a little bit farther in November. So I have different due dates happening now. Now, as far as the date created, of course, it's going to be the same for each one. I'm going to update my date teaching so that my date teaching will be different for each of these lessons. So I'm just going to pick a date that's past when it was due. So that way it'll make a little bit more sense when we look at the planning piece. So that's due the 1st. So let's pick the 8th here. And finally for class 1, I can leave my date teaching for that date. So all 3 classes, sample lesson plans, we've got a folder. So remember I talked about in ClickUp, you can look at things from that bird's eye view, and that's what's so great about that everything level. Well, you can also do that on the space level and on the folder level. So let's go one level up. We're on lists inside our folder. Let's look at 2022, 2023. So already I can see all of my classes and all of my lesson plans with due dates right in one screen, which I think is fantastic. I don't have to go to each class now to see some of the information that's here. I can see, now notice though it has due dates, but I don't have those other columns that were here previously. That's because those columns were added on the lists, but I can go ahead and add them here too. So I'll click the plus use field from library, and again, that drop down. So I'm going to go here, which I don't really need because it tells me the class here, but if they want to have it here, you can. But I definitely want to have that date teaching. So I'm going to use this field. So I have it here. So this has set you up so that you can go to this bird's eye view here and take a look at what's going on across all your classes. So I hope you found this video to be helpful, and check out more videos to learn about ClickUp, especially as it relates to using ClickUp with teaching. Would you like me to send you my best productivity tips for teachers, academic administrators, and students? Then you'll want to sign up for my monthly email newsletter. I only share resources and tips that have worked for me. I've included the link in the show notes below this video. If you like this video, please let me know by subscribing to my channel, giving this video a like, and comment down below and let me know how you're using ClickUp. I'll see you in the next video.